Okay, you guys ready? Formula One! Formula One! Woo! Let's talk Formula One. Ah! Max Verstappen won! Oh my god, Max Verstappen won! Ah! Okay, got a little dizzy there. So yeah, so Max Verstappen won today. That was interesting. Let's see what else happened. 2016 Spain or Spanish GP? I don't know, which one's the better way to call it? So the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix unofficial results. Should I go from the back to the front or from the front to the back? Well, you probably already know who won anyway because I just said it. So let's look at from the back to the front. Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton at the end. What? If you haven't seen it, Nico and Lewis took each other out in the first lap before you even got to turn 4. So Nico defended aggressively against Hamilton. Hamilton went off into the grass and then he spun and then he hit Nico's car, and both of the Mercedes cars went out on the first lap. You know, they say that rule number 1 is don't take your teammate out, but I guess in case of failure, rule number 2 is look at rule number 1, and these guys didn't follow either of that. Now some people are saying that it's more Hamilton's fault for not backing off of Nico. I'm kind of on the fence because I feel like Nico was being really aggressive with defending the position, and I don't think that he needed to cut that far to the right in order to stay in front of Hamilton. But, you know, that's my opinion. We'll have to wait and see what the stewards say as far as whose fault it was. In front of them, Nico Hülkenberg came in 20th. His car caught fire towards the end of the race. Alonso was in 19th position. He was doing really well, and then suddenly his car just died. He calls out, no power! Romain Grosjean is tagged as 18th. Rio Haryanto was 17th. Pascal Wehrlein was 16. Felipe Nasser, 15. Kevin Magnussen, 14. Jolyon Palmer, 13. Marcus Ericsson, 12th. Esteban Gutierrez was 11th. And then our boy Danny Kvyat, DK, was in 10th. I don't know, man. I think he's just having some issues getting used to his new ride, and I think it'll be a little bit. If he's talking on the track, he needs to talk a little bit louder or faster. 9th place was JB, Jenson Button, for McLaren. Nice solid finish there. Felipe Massa was in 8th. Sergio Perez was 7th. Carlos Sainz finished in 6th. Matador Jr. showing the home crowd a good time. Carlos Sainz, at the end of the race, he said something like, you know, that he was glad to see that things are starting to go his way, which is an interesting thing for him to say, given that you know, Kvyat is back on the team, and you would think that Kvyat would be the more senior driver, but we'll see. It looks like maybe Sainz is going to be the more senior driver there with Toro Rosso. There was an incident during the race where they called out to DK and they told him that he had to give the position back to Hülkenberg because he passed him during the safety car, and DK was not very happy about that. 5th place was Valtteri Bottas. He was just kind of there. I didn't really see much of anything from him. Neither Williams' car, they were just kind of there in the race, and I don't know what they were waiting for. They just didn't really factor in. 4th place was Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo, 4 times 4th place. This time around, though, I think that they screwed him with the strategy. I think that if they would have played it better, that Ricciardo would have won the race instead of Verstappen. But I feel like the team wants to favor Max over Daniel Ricciardo, and I don't like that. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But at the last lap, Daniel Ricciardo suffered a puncture, but he was so far ahead of Bottas that he was able to pull into, make it halfway around the track, back into the pits, back into pit lane, get serviced, get the new tires, take off, and he was still out in front of Bottas. So that should give you an idea of how far ahead the lead pack was. Third was Sebastian Vettel. Seb was being a whiny baby again. He was complaining that Ricardo was being too aggressive or something. I have a quote later on from Ricardo about that. But Seb was like, seriously, what are we doing here? It's like, Seb, shut up and race. Seriously. That's what you're doing. That's what you're supposed to be doing there. Second place was Kimi. Seemed like the Ferrari did not have the legs to take on the allegedly underpowered Red Bull. So is the Red Bull car really that much better aerodynamically than the Ferrari? Because if so, if I'm Ferrari, I'm worried. Sergio Marchionne was there. What's his name? Enzo's kid was there. If I'm Arrivabene after today's results and after yesterday, I'd be worried about what my job is going to be like next year. I'd be worried about whether I had a job next year. And then, of course, first place, Max Verstappen from Red Bull. I don't want to take anything away from Max and from his win. Okay, I think that he did a good job today. He drove a very clean race. I would have liked to have seen him as he could have done against the Mercedes cars. Honestly, and again, I'm not trying to dismiss his win today because I think it's an amazing feat that he accomplished at age 18. I'm sure if a lot of us think about what were we doing at age 18, maybe some of us wished we were driving a Formula One car. And Spain is kind of a weird circuit because the Circuit de Catalunya, because even Maldonado won there one time. So depending on what the circumstances are, you know, that circuit will favor random people to win somehow. It's a matter of being at the right place at the right time when you're racing at that circuit. Because like I said, even Maldonado won there one time. I will say this, Max, I feel, has the potential to win at other circuits, and he certainly has the ability to win more than once. Respect. I think he got lucky today. He got lucky that both Mercedes knocked themselves out, and Ferrari botched the strategy during the race again. Red Bull botched Daniel Ricciardo's strategy again, and he inherited a win that, you know, perhaps he wouldn't have gotten had things gone differently, but them's the breaks, right? Then they did the post-race interviews, right? And that was kind of an interesting thing. Kimi was like, well, I raced against Jos, so that sounds even scarier. Kimi also said, you know, I'm happy for Max, but a bit disappointed for myself. Yesterday and the start weren't great. I just couldn't get close in the last laps. It wasn't enough today, but after yesterday, P2 and P3 are fine. Kimi just kind of like hats off to Verstappen and his win, and at the same time acknowledging the issues that they have at Ferrari, which, you know, I mean, seriously, Red Bull wasn't even supposed to be in the picture here. Ferrari's supposed to be chasing after Mercedes, and then all of a sudden Red Bull gets in the mix. What's up with that, man? I was surprised that Kimi was the one that was in front, leading the rush against Max and not Seb. I don't know what happened to Seb. Maybe it was that middle stint. Kimi somehow managed to make his tires work better. Ferrari, of course, messed up their race strategy. I don't understand how that works. After the race, they asked Ricardo about Vettel, and Ricardo said, apparently he said I was too aggressive on the radio. Yeah, typical. Seb's kind of getting a reputation now for being a whiny baby on the radio, which, yeah, there you go. I still think that Christian Horner's quote, Max Verstappen, you are a race winner. And then Max has been like, oh, thank you, Christian, at the end of the race. That was pretty fun. Also, after when he pulled into Parc Fermé and Verstappen got up out of the car, I liked how he was very like military, straight up, offered a handshake to Dr. Marco, and he was like, dude, seriously? Come on, give me a hug. And he like patted that out. I thought that was funny. At the end of the day, the crash between the two Mercedes cars, I'm going to agree with Niki Lauda's quote. He said it was completely unnecessary. Well, duh, any wreck is completely unnecessary. But a wreck that takes out both of your cars is especially so. So that sucks. But really, the start was the most exciting part of the race. For the rest of it, it was just kind of like a wait and see, like what's gonna happen? Who's gonna do what? I like what Ricardo said at the end of the race. He said, at least I tried to make something happen. I tried to pass Seb. I couldn't get past him, but I tried to do something. I don't understand what these other guys are doing, that none of them are trying to do anything. And that is the key right there. Verstappen is trying to make something happen. He doesn't care, he's 18. He's 8 feet tall and bulletproof. So he's gonna race and he's gonna push it. DK has a chip on his shoulder. I don't want to write him off for the rest of the season, but I really need to see some life from him in Monaco or else he's done. And he won't be back next year. But what Daniel Ricciardo said is true. The race had exciting moments, but the race itself, as far as it being exciting start to finish, no, it wasn't. The Williams cars, who can tell me a single thing that happened to the Williams cars? What about the Sauber cars? What about, nothing really matters during the race. It was just like a procession to a degree. Just take out the two Mercedes, but it's still a procession around the track. Ferrari didn't race an exciting race. Red Bull didn't race an exciting race. Really, nobody did an exciting race except for the two cars that took themselves out. So, thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. And yeah, so this is Raphael from midgridracing.com. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Go to midgridracing.com. There's a little box on there that you can subscribe to the website, and you'll get an update, an email update every day with the top news for the day. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Zoom, 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 zoom.